everyone. Thank you for being here to hear about Discover Mindfulness, what it is and what it isn't with Karen Waddell. Karen and I were introduced actually in 2013 during our social services diploma studies in 2013. One of the professors saw the possibility of what we could accomplish together to positively impact our communities and mental health. Since then, Karen and the Sashbear Foundation collaborated in a series of projects, for example, Having a Life Worth Living video series, the March 10 Mindfulness video, the Mindfulness Bridge, and much more. Karen Waddell is a certified trauma-sensitive MSBR teacher trained at the Center of Mindfulness in Medicine, Healthcare and Society at the University of Massachusetts Medical School and the Mindfulness Center at Brown University, Rhode Island. She holds a diploma in community service work and studies conflict resolution at the University of Waterloo. Karen teaches a transformative 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction course in classroom and corporate settings, as well as one-to-one MSBR informed meditation instruction online around the world. A longtime Sashbear friend and supporter, Karen was the director of the documentary series Borderline Personality Disorder, Having a Life Worth Living, released by Sashbear in 2016. For more information about Karen's 8 weeks MSBR course, the Mindfulness Instruction and Workshop, please go to Mindfulness Dimension site. Without further ado, let's hear about discovering mindfulness, what it is and what it isn't with Karen Waddell.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that, dear Lynn. That was wonderful, that introduction. It reminds me how much I've done in the last 10 years. That's just amazing. Thank you. And to all my friends at Sashbear for inviting me to share with you tonight some of my experience and understanding of mindfulness. So you've come here to learn about mindfulness, but if I may, I'd like to just start with some poetry, especially now in these times of unrest and uncertainty. I've come to know that poetry, if we embrace it, it can offer us a way to empathize with one another. It's in its immediacy, it's poetry as a counselor. It's helping us to understand one another and leading us away from hate to love, from violence to mercy and pity. So in some ways, poetry acts like a bridge. I use poetry a lot in my trainings, an intermediate path to becoming better people and being the change in the world that we want to be, creating a world less about tearing each other down and apart, but more about coming together, helping us to realize that we're not as different as we think. And despite our differences, we are not alone in our grief, in our pain, and our joy or our happiness. So reading and writing poetry is for the greater good, whose benefits are for the rebuilding and forging of a more connected and caring world. So I'd like to start with American novelist, poet, essayist, environmental activist called Wendell Berry. He once wrote, "It may be when we are no longer, sorry, I'm going to start again. It may be when we no longer know what to do, we have come to our real work. And that when we no longer know which way to go, we have begun our real journey." So I start with that poem because mindfulness is a journey of sorts. It's not a quick fix. It's definitely a journey of a lifetime. And I'll say at the top that the real practice of mindfulness is life itself. So I'd like to extend a welcome to everyone that came tonight, that's here tonight, a heart-filled welcome to all of you. Thank you for making the time and the arrangements to be here, and for those who also made it possible for you to be here, to be present. We just have under an hour here to discover mindfulness. So I'll try my best to define it in words and also to put it in action with some practice. So, hello through the lens out there. It's a bit strange for me. I'm used to seeing somebody on the other side, but I know that you're nesting there out in your home and I'm in mine here. So I'm guessing that since you've registered for this webinar, that you must be at least a little bit curious about meditation in general and mindfulness in particular to have arrived here. Perhaps some of you have had experience with mindfulness already through DBT skills perhaps, and have had some benefit already to steady yourself in your life. And maybe some of you are harboring some fairly narrow, incomplete perspectives about meditation. And so I just hope that I can illuminate, some aspects of mindfulness for you tonight. Over the years, I've given a lot of intro talks to mindfulness in town. So I've heard a whole gamut of common misconceptions about mindfulness meditation. One of them is that, meditation practice requires much training to get it right. So right off the bat, I just want you to know there's no right way to meditation, only what is. So I tell my students often on the first day of class that there's no way to fail my mindfulness course, that you're going to get an A right off the top, because as long as you can breathe, there's more right with you. Mindfulness doesn't try to get any kind of certain outcome. There's no fixing you. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to get, because guess what? You're already complete. You're already whole. So mindfulness embraces this domain of being rather than doing. Another aspect people bring up a lot is, that do I have to turn off my thoughts? Do I have to make my mind blank or insist on positive thoughts? Well, one thing, we can't turn off our thoughts. That would be impossible. But we can realize over time that our thoughts are not us. That's the aha moment. The practice teaches us how to be with all our thoughts and emotions, whether they're uncomfortable, and with a light touch. So everything that arises in your mind is your teacher. People often say to me, oh, I have to be like in a particular state. Do I have to be serene? Well, we're not trying to achieve any particular state of mindfulness, meditation. We work with whatever is present. Just like tonight, you bring whatever is here. All is welcome, whether it's restlessness or agitation or shame or fear, desire, cravings, whatever is here, because it's here. Each breath, each moment is a chance to begin anew. People ask me, is the aim to get to a certain particular state? Well, there's no falling into a trance, that's for sure. If anything, we're falling out of a trance, out of the trance of our life. Often, most of us are on this automatic pilot. So mindfulness asks us to wake up and to notice and to simply hold everything in awareness. So I know what is here, this recognition. Also, will mindfulness eliminate sadness or rough patches in my life? Well, mindfulness is not meant to erase all the challenges in your life, but certainly won't take stress out of your life, but it'll help you to better respond and manage with all that falls in your path. There's great learning and great healing to be had from the challenges that come into our life. So people often ask me, will it be good to put me to sleep? I mean, it might put you to sleep. If you're lying down and you're holding a lot of stress in your life, it's hard to hold a lot of stress. That's exhausting for your body. So you might want to sleep at first when you first start to practice. But the invitation with mindfulness is really to fall awake. Will I have to forsake my faith? Well, the study of mindfulness will only enhance and benefit whatever religion you hold dear to your heart. It's also meant to complement all your psychological or physical treatments that are already in place by your healthcare provider. And meditation isn't strictly to be done on the floor. People say, oh, do I have to have a cushion? Do I have to be on the floor? Not at all. And I'll talk about that more in a bit. So what is meditation really? And why might it make a lot of sense to at least experiment with bringing it into your life? I mean, we're certainly hearing a lot about mindfulness these days. But mindfulness has been around for quite a long time. I mean, even before the Buddha. So we're talking, 2,500 to 2,600 years ago. So despite all the mainstream hype and there's commercial exploitation, opportunism, and people claiming to teach you with very little background or training in it at all, to my mind, the resurgence of taking up mindfulness meditation practice is very, very positive, and it's a promising development. Lots of people come up to me and ask me about this app or the benefits of, this mindfulness app. And I have no problem with that because they're all a door. These are all doors into deeper understanding of the practice, to significant healing and transformative powers of mindfulness as a practice, as a way of being in relationship with your moment-to-moment lived experience. So that's all good. You come in with, through whatever door you want. So let's get to the operational definition of what mindfulness and is. And this is also coming from my teacher, which is Jon Kabat-Zinn. So if you just give me a moment here, I'm going to share this screen so you can have this. There you are, technically done. So it's the awareness that rises from paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. So mindfulness, in other words, is about recognizing whatever is here in real time. And I wish I could see a show of hands out there, how many of you really show up in your lives in this way. I mean, how often do we refuse to be present in our lives? And that judgmental part, I mean, it doesn't mean that you won't have judgments. Of course you're going to have judgments. I mean, we have plenty of those. Don't we have opinions about everything? But the invitation in mindfulness is to suspend judging as best as you can and just simply recognize it when it arises. Even suspend the judging of the judging, if that's possible for you. So whatever is noticed is held with love and care and without judgment or opinions about it. So that definition is just to get us going. And it sounds pretty simple at first on the outset, but I'll tell you no lie. It can be the hardest work in the world to sustain that kind of exquisite attention moment to moment. But the founder of the training that I have done in mindfulness, mindfulness-based stress reduction, my program, Jon Kabat-Zinn, speaks of this taking a seat in your own life as a radical, active act of sanity and love. It kind of matters. So why? To stop all the overdoing that carries us through our moments day to day and truly inhabit them. Why do this? Really drop into being, even if it's for a fleeting moment, if it can have a profound impact on the next moment and the next moment throughout your day. How much value do we put on the next moment and not this moment? So certainly doing is a very important aspect of our lives. We have to do things. We have to get things done. But what we happen to be called human beings. So what would it be like to actually give attention to actually being in some parts of our life? So what if our doing, came out of a domain of being? It's kind of interesting. Could a place of really being present inform our doing out today? Then an entirely different form of doing emerges. So we could call it wise doing, wise action. So we could say that mindfulness practice is easy to learn and it's easy to do, but I'll tell you, and other people will tell you, it's just as easy to forget to practice, even though this kind of dropping in takes literally no time at all. You just have to remember. So there's a kind of discipline about it. Even if you don't want to show up that day, why not just show up? It might affect the rest of your day. So paradoxically, you're not going to go anywhere when you practice mindfulness, since you're already whole, you're already complete, you're already who you are in your fullness. Mindfulness is not about improving yourself because you're already whole, complete, perfect, including all your imperfections. So despite all the counter arguments that might, the clever part of your mind might be thinking right now, you don't have to do anything. And I'm telling you, there's nothing weird or out of the ordinary about meditating for meditation. It's not sitting there going, It's just checking in. And also there's everything extraordinary about it. There's something very special about it. It boils down to simply paying attention in your life as if it really mattered. And doesn't it? It does, more than you think. And that's kind of a play on words, because meditation is not about what you think at all. So I'm just going to undo that share right now, if I may. There we go. So another layer to mindfulness practices, we do it not just for ourselves, but for those around us. When we take good care of ourselves, the more we take good care of ourselves, the more we take care of others, our loved ones, our community, our planet. Nothing really separates us from anything else. And this interconnectedness of everything becomes apparent the more we practice being awake and aware. So a lot of people, ask me, will mindfulness get rid of the challenges and stresses in our lives with a magic wand? And I get asked that a lot, but I'm afraid it will not. But it will teach you to be in ways, to be in better relationship with all of life's ups and downs. You might have a lot more to say in it than you actually suspect. So there's many ways to cultivate mindfulness, both through formal meditation practice and also informally through everyday living and working. So starting with formal meditation, it can be practiced in a number of positions or postures. So there's sitting, there's lying down, there's standing, there's walking. So there's a lot of options available for you to find your own authentic way to practice, a way that feels intuitive and trustworthy. And then there's informal meditation practice, which is in some way the real meditation practice, because it involves letting life itself become your practice and recognizing that everything that folds within it, the wanted and all the unwanted and the unknown, is the real curriculum. So we don't want to push anything away or avoid anything or cling to anything that might cause us harm over time. Everything that arises in our own mind or in our life, in the world, is what we learn from. It's not excluded. So every moment is a perfect moment to begin awareness to what is unfolding. We learn to grow, we learn to heal, and deeply inhabit the life that is yours to live. So whether it's just simply washing the dishes, can you really be there? Taking a shower, preparing a meal, eating a meal, greeting a loved one, or saying goodbye. Decades of research have shown that mindfulness can serve as a powerful ally in facing and transcending the challenges of stress and pain throughout our life. Sometimes mindfulness looks like you're doing nothing, and sometimes mindfulness looks like you're doing something, but from the outside, you can't really know. And even when it looks like you're doing nothing, it isn't. So mindfulness, above all, is a practice, a training of the heart. So having said that, it's not a technique. It's a way of being in wise relationship to the entirety of your inner and outer experience. And we investigate through the 5 senses most of the time. So through sight, through hearing, through touch, taste, and smell. So it requires intentional and ongoing cultivation. And that's nurtured through the regular discipline and practice of mindfulness, meditation. It's pure and simple. And the investment of time and energy is profoundly beneficial and worthwhile. I can say, personally, it gave me back my life. It challenged me to do something for myself, to participate in my own trajectory towards greater health, wisdom, and well-being, ultimately. I have learned to take better care of myself and develop new ways of effectively dealing and modulating stress in my life. I had a traumatic, it was dramatic as well, brain injury 10 years ago. And I have learned through my comeback that my brain has a remarkable capacity to reshape itself and grow despite severe damage. The science is called neuroplasticity. And the training that I have gained in meditation practice has significantly contributed to my pain management, supporting rebuilding my memory loss, and is able to give me more locomotion steadiness, which I lost, and also soothing my emotional dysregulation that resulted after my accident. Not to mention more positive relationships in my family and my work life. After 30 years of marriage, my husband says we're in a renaissance period. So thank you, mindfulness. So how often do we refuse to be present in our lives? Because we are seduced or memorized or frightened into the future and the past, carried along in the stream of events and weather patterns of our own reactions and numbness, obsessing about what we often unthinkingly have, done, or something that we have to do urgently, by losing touch at the same time with what is actually important, vital for our own well-being and our sanity, for our survival, being present. So your life is, I've come to know, at least my life has become to know that I'm bigger than I think. And I think we'll just jump right into practice right now, shall we? So I don't know if you've ever tried meditation before. So there's no special stance that you have to get into, and you don't have to become anyone else right now. You don't have to become a serene person. Just bring whatever's here right now. There's no special outcome we're going for, or to have, a great meditation, something special to happen. So I invite you to put these notions away, put these ideas away before you're even meditating. So sitting here, anchored in awareness, finding a comfortable position, sitting here in dignity. And the eyes can be closed or open, whatever's comfortable for you. And if they are going to be open, perhaps just, making your glance just to embrace a spot on the floor in front of you so you're not distracted by the room around you, the space around you. So adopting this posture now that allows you to be alert and awake and receptive. A straight but not a rigid back. And if you ever need to change or shift positions at any time, I want you to honor what's called for yourself. My wish is that you take good care of yourself in this practice, whatever that means to you. So bringing an alert, receptive quality to what's happening here. We're going to become familiar with what's here at any given moment through the realm of sensations. So we could start by the way of sight. What's to be noticed, savored without making opinions about it. There's also the other sensations, touch, hearing, smell, taste, simply paying attention to what's present without judgment. Of course, you'll notice judgments being made. I like this, I don't like this, this is boring, this isn't exciting. Oh, I should have done this. They should have said that. What did they say in that? Why did they say it that way? I mean, all these judgments that we make. Why is this happening to me? So these, if you can, are just opinions passing through the mind. No need to entertain them, just to observe them, let them come and pass. Events in the mind. Because have you ever noticed all things in life have a kind of rising, a lingering, a passing. So just let them run their course, because they will pass. So as best you can, let go of the ideas of clinging on to these events, these opinions, these judgments, grasping. For the time that we sit here in this practice tonight, just experiment with that. This is your laboratory, a time to explore phenomena that appears as we sit. All of it. So we begin by coming to our breath. Remember, we're not trying to change anything here. Bringing a freshness in and an awareness. A feeling of maybe refreshing ourselves. Like this is the first time we're noticing this breath entering the body or leaving the body. Perhaps using the out breath to release something, however tiny from the body, maybe a little tension, a little worry. Can you notice any little contractions of the body? Perhaps notice touch, like pressure or weight of the body. Contact of the thighs or buttocks on the chair. All those touch points. Could they just be experienced? So can you feel a body here breathing? Feeling it moving, touching. You don't have to do anything, make the breath special. The body's taking care of itself. Breathing. Breathing you. And when you're ready, can you bring attention down to your hands? Perhaps feeling a warmth here. Softness. Heaviness. What's to be noticed? Resting in the hands, wherever they're resting. Just taking a little moment here to be intimate with the hands, to know what is here by the way of sensations present in the hands, however subtle. And if there's no sensations, that's fine as well. That's perfectly okay. And not too far away from the hands is the belly. So feeling into the belly right now. Not thinking about the belly, just feeling movement such as rising, perhaps falling, expanding, contracting. Again, not making anything happen, just a natural rising and falling in this region. You can bring a hand to this region if you want to feel it a little bit deeper. Sometimes when you feel sensations, they're comfortable, pleasant. Sometimes they're unpleasant. Some sensations can be neutral, nothing much happening. So the instructions here are just to notice without changing anything because they're already here. So we refrain from giving value to thoughts and feelings right now about sensations in the body. We're just interested in the belly at this particular moment. Offering our attention here. When you're ready, maybe if you can, bringing now a gentle attention to sounds, hearing. Could be sounds inside you, maybe sounds of digestion, swallowing, sounds around you. Try not to label the sounds. This is going beneath preconceptual ideas of sound. Just how could you describe the sounds that are arriving? Soft, staccato, droning. How might you report on the sound? Watching sounds arrive and pass. There's also the silence between sounds. Can this be noticed as well? And lived in. Bringing attention to what can be heard. As if we've never heard this sound before, or this silence before. Like this is the first time we can hear. Just staying with sound for a few moments. When you're comfortable, coming back to the breath. Resting in the breath now, this kind of home base, just for a few moments. Not thinking about the breath. Feeling the breath enter and leave the body. You're welcome to find an area of the flow of the breath that's more vivid for you. It might be the nostrils, the throat, the chest, the belly, the whole cycle of the breath, whatever is most prominent for you. And if there's nothing that really sticks out, you can always go to the belly, default to the belly. An anchor, a refuge. So with each practice, we always start freshly again. There's a lot of repetition in practice, but we try to bring a beginner's mind, a freshness, even to each breath. This breath. Feeling this breath as if it's the first time you've given attention to this breath. What's to be known? What's to be noticed? And now this breath. Diving under any preconceived ideas of wanting some kind of outcome, rather than just to sit with whatever's here, to observe. And also that notion that you know that you're breathing. I know that I'm breathing in. I know that I'm breathing out. This is awareness. I know that I'm sitting. How do you know you're sitting? Through the felt sensation of the body. So embracing the awareness around that. And we let go of ideas of boredom and judgments that might separate us from life as it is happening right now. as we set the intention to live more clearly, more deliberately in the present moment. This is the portal to joy, to peace, to creativity, to possibilities. The mind is less rigid, more flexible, adaptable in this place. The place of knowing we are complete. As we bring the quality of the exquisite attention here, what can you discover? Perhaps you become more aligned with your values as we remember to pay attention to what's here, the clear seeing of what's here right now, without pushing anything away, holding on to anything. The best version of me that becomes available as I turn up the volume of curiosity of what's here. So, if you can, come back to the breath right now. If its mind has been wandering, come back to the breath. I'm not trying to be perfect here. We're just aiming and sustaining on this particular object of attention. And if you're living behind your eyes right now, if you feel your intelligence is there, seeing if you can drop that intelligence down into your heart. Think of an elevator going down deep into the heart and resting there for just a moment or two. They say there are more neurons in our heart than we can imagine. We often say heartfelt. I know it in my heart. There is intelligence in the heart. Dropping again down into the belly, letting the breath be just as it is in the belly, however slow, chaotic, tight, fast. Just let it be experienced right now. The associations with breathing in the belly. So we become intimate with the breath, entering the body, leaving the body. Maybe a little game of seeing how long we could sustain that attention on the breath before the mind wanders. And then the mind has landed on something. That's okay. That's what the mind does. It's a time that we wake up, we notice the planning, we notice the rehashing of the past. And then we come back to the breath over and over again. That's our training. So how long can you aim and sustain that attention on the breath right now before the mind wanders? So this is your training in mindfulness. It's like learning a new sport. It feels a little unstable at first in the beginning, a little bit messy, maybe not so much patience. But in time, a deepening dedication comes to practice. It takes time to train. And, remember to train in a playful way. It's not serious. There's lots of trials and errors here. So, thank you for bringing attention to this precious endeavor. And we had a simple practice today of just, honing our attention on the breath, the belly, the body. But perhaps you can find some value or some invitation to bring whatever you discovered in this practice today to moments in the rest of your evening, maybe doing the dishes, bringing exquisite attention there. So thank you for being here. And if your eyes have been open, you can gently open them now. Maybe offer your hands and your feet some gentle movement, stretch, whatever's required. Alive, awake. So we've reached near the end of our hour. I'd like to, hand it over to Doreen right now. We can open up to what maybe you have discovered in this time together, just this small practice together, what has been a challenge, what's been discovered. And I just want to say thank you again for showing up today, for being present here with me.
Well, I want to thank you, Karen, because that was absolutely lovely and such a grounding experience for me, even though I am also still watching the chat and the Q&A and all those things, and I am still just drifting in and out moment by moment to focus on my breath was really, really helpful for me.
Oh, good.
The first question that came up immediately is that people wanted you to repeat the name of the poem, the title of the poem that you read right at the very beginning.
Oh, in the very beginning. Okay. I don't even know if there's a title. I know Wendell Berry. So I guess it's important to know it's Wendell Berry. He's an American poet.
Okay.
And it might be an excerpt from something that he's written. I often like to ground myself with that before I practice or begin a talk. But yeah, and sometimes if you look up the first stanza of the poet's poem, so the first stanza was, it may be when we no longer know what to do. Wendell Berry, Wendellberry.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, another question that's come up, and I'm sure you've heard it before, which is, what is the relationship between mindfulness and meditation? Are they the same thing? Are they different? Are they the same name for two different things?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess there's many different forms of meditation. I mean, people often ask me, like, well, how much do you engage in meditation? And my comeback answer a lot of times is 24/7, as much as I can. Because I like to, break that separation between meditation and day-to-day life, right? But mindfulness in itself, the description of mindfulness onto meditation is a type of meditation that is a recognition, it's insightful, a recognition of what is here now. So there's different types of meditations, and there's meditations that, have mantras. There's many forms of meditations, many schools of meditations, many histories, of meditation. But mindfulness meditation is the insightful part of meditation, in that it asks us just to recognize what is here right now. And also to recognize what's here right now, but also to embrace it with a heartfulness. An interpretation of mindfulness is also heartfulness. So we recognize what's here and we bring a tenderness and a care to it as well.
Thank you. Oh, and I see somebody has now found the title of the Wendleberry poem. It's called Our Real Work.
Our Real Work. I'm going to write down that myself. It's been so long since I looked at that. I have such a large book of poetry, I can't tell you. I use poetry a lot in my teachings because it goes to that deep place, you know, that the same place that mindfulness asks us to go to really observe, you know, ourselves. And the people who have written poetry have really spent time over every word that they placed on that page. And so it's good to read it slowly, not quickly.
Great. Yeah, so it's a way of bringing us into that presence.
That centeredness.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Now, another question that's coming up quite a bit here is whether you have recommendations for free apps or particular books that you might want to recommend to people to do some further work.
Yeah, I don't use apps myself. I've never used an app, but I do hear that Calm is a good one. Heart Space is a good one to start off with. That's come up a lot with people that I've worked with. I come from a training, a mindfulness-based stress reduction, and I love this book, well, two books of Jon Kabat-Zinn actually, called Full Catastrophe Living, and another book called Coming to Our Senses, which is a wonderful title. All the different layers of that. That's a really good book. Anything by Mathieu Ricard, who's he's a monk, actually, a French monk who was a scientist who came over to the tradition. He has so many wonderful books to read about altruism and mindfulness and how to start mindfulness practice. Do
you know how to spell his last name? I can guess it, Mathieu.
Yeah. Let me spell this out myself here. Mathieu, he spells it in the French way. So it's Mathieu. And Ricard, I think it's just Raccard. I mean, if you go even on the internet, there's it would just come up. He would come up.
Okay.
Yeah. So he has some great beginner books too. Also, Tara Brach. I love Tara Brach as well. So Tarabrach. She speaks a lot about dealing with emotions, you know, and compassion. There's also Dr. Kristen Neff. That's with a K. Christian. Kristen, Neff, EFF. And also talks about compassion. For me, compassion is a big part of mindfulness, especially if you're looking at your judgments all day long. You need some little compassion around that, you know, with all that judging going on.
Yeah. And it's one of the most difficult pieces I know for myself in my own mindfulness practice, that self-compassion piece, because we're so quick and easy to judge ourselves. Exactly. And to let go of the judgment and bring compassion to ourselves is one of the most difficult pieces, isn't it? Okay, so
that's how we can. It's actually how we can welcome everything, you know, to our life. You know, it doesn't matter if it's an unwanted or an uncomfortable feeling or thought or event. When we ask that question, I ask the question a lot. You know, can I be okay with this? That's very compassionate. Like, can I be okay with it? How can I bring more ease to this? You know, this situation, whatever's here. I can take this branch here of more pain, or maybe perhaps I would can have more possibility and go over here where there might be more freedom and more peace. But I often hug myself too. I often like touch myself. It's okay. Like, it's okay. Because this in itself, there's a lot of research about this, but just even giving a slight touch to yourself, to the heart or to yourself, releases oxytocin, which is like the hug sort of like lovely hormone that's released, and it's a feel-good hormone too.
Right, because we're like mammals, like babies. We want that
exactly,
sense of touch,
yeah.
right?
Yes, yeah.
Great. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Kathleen now, because she's been watching the other area where questions have popped up, and I know she has some more questions for you. Kathleen?
Some of our questions were the same, Karen. The one that I think would be helpful for the people to know as you led them through that mindfulness exercise is the question is, can you mindfully do the dishes or cook if those tasks are no longer enjoyable due to a festering family dispute regarding those chores? So if you can even address just, can you do those everyday tasks mindfully, might be helpful.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what the question is exactly. That you couldn't do it because there's something going on in the house, or
possibly, yes.
Or you're giving someone instruction to do this chore to become more mindful. I'm not quite sure the question.
I'm not sure that part of the question, but can you mindfully do the dishes or cook if these tasks are no longer enjoyable?
So how do we, I always say the next breath is the next moment to come to something again. It's an opportunity to start again. And so, Noah, I guess you heard in the meditation about, the senses, right?
Yes.
So how can I come to washing the dishes, mindfully and with interest and curiosity? Well, I could come to the dishes and I could feel with touch. I could feel how lovely the soap feel or bubbles feel on my hand, or the dish itself feels lovely on me, or the sponge, feel tactily into the body. So it's getting out of the mind into the body through the senses. I could smell the sweet suds. Maybe I've chosen a certain kind of lavender smell today, in my dishwashing liquid. There's all different ways to come into this to get you away from what's going on in your head right there. And so you're just there with the dishes, sensually, tactily, dish per dish, not in the next moment of where am I going after I wash the dishes, but can I actually be right here? Not about a conversation that I had 10 minutes ago. Can I actually be here with the dishes? Be exquisitely here, paying attention, fully here, alive with the dish. And feeling gratitude, feeling gratitude about that you have this dish, or you've made this dish so beautiful when you cleaned it. You've done such a great job with it as you place it into the dish rack. So this is getting out of your head into your body through the senses.
All right, that's good. Thank you for that. And I think that would be...
Yeah, I think it's this idea, if I may, to actually be where you're supposed to be, right? To actually be there.
Right.
It's so easy of us to be ahead of ourselves, or to, be behind ourselves. And we're missing this moment right here, this wonderful moment.
So in essence, we can apply mindfulness to every task that we have to do, big or small.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
In fact, it's good to start there. It's good to start with the ones that you don't like, the mundane tasks around the room, to in the house, to start there, the simple tasks. And, I always say, your formal practice is money in the bank too. Like when you start a formal practice, because in your formal practice, you're dealing with those slight irritations. You're dealing with a slight itch on the hand, perhaps, that comes up. And the invitation is not to go and scratch the itch right away, but to actually see that, feel the itch arrive. Maybe it's a 10 out of 10 when it first arrives, and just to be with it, and add some attention and curiosity there, and just watch it go away. It will go away, just as an experiment, So you deal with the small things in your sitting practice, so that when you get to the big stuff in life, maybe you can handle it a little bit better. Maybe you can't, it takes a while, but at least you're working towards the big stuff. Don't ask yourself to go, oh, this is a huge argument right now, I must become mindful. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen unless you actually practice getting there.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
The next question I have is, how can you encourage teenagers to come to mindfulness?
How can you encourage them? Well, first of all, it's not the same as leading a horse, right? You can't bring someone to something because they don't know about it. I would suggest that you take on mindfulness, that you model mindfulness, and for them to actually see the mindfulness in you and to question and go, there's something quite different about you, without you actually forcing or striving to get someone to try something. Get them interested in what's happening to you as you become more mindful in your life.
Okay. And the last question I have here, oh, it just jumped, sorry. What about if one is in physical pain while using one's hands?
Oh, using one hands. Okay, that's
Yeah.
a great question. I've come from pain. That's how I came to mindfulness, is that I had extreme chronic pain. That is a long process of working with pain. In fact, I would recommend that person get in touch with me, and I can recommend ways to start with that. But basically, we start with pain. We welcome it in the same way as everything else, but we play with the edges of it. You know, we play with this, the outside of that pain. Pain always isn't 10 to 10 all the time, and it's constantly shifting. So we watch our pain. And also, you know, it's like, you know, going into cold water. Like I used to vacation when I was younger in Maine and by the Atlantic Ocean. And I remember that first time coming up to that ocean, and I put my toe in, my whole body reacted. It was just so cold. So we don't jump right into pain. We work with the edges around it, trying to soften it. And we learned that like pain is in the body, but there's also a second component to pain, and that's what's happening in the mind. So we learn to start recognizing what emotions are associated with the mind and the pain. You know, how I don't want this to happen, how I don't want this to be here. I wish this wasn't happening. I don't like this. So when you can separate that a little bit more, often the pain subsides somewhat. It's not going to get rid of all your pain, but it becomes manageable. But yeah, I can recommend a really good book. We'll talk about books at the beginning of this talk, but I can recommend a good book for that as well.
Okay.
I'm going to jump in here and just note that it is 8 o'clock. So this was scheduled to be for an hour. We do have a couple more questions, but I just want to note the time, and I'm sure there are some people who will need to sign off right now because they will have other things that they need to go to. I think there's just a couple more questions, if you didn't mind, Karen, staying for an extra few moments.
Okay.
Great. So for anyone who has to leave, I've just put Karen's website again into the chat panel so that you can find out more about her and her work and contact her if you want to. And just to say thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Hopefully you'll be able to join us next week for the next one. So I have then a question that came up, which is more specific to borderline personality. So how can we, even if we have a mindfulness practice and we're used to doing it, how can we most effectively allow ourselves to respond mindfully to someone who is very dysregulated emotionally and sort of very, very immediate and very escalated?
Well, I really do believe in awareness, in this idea of actually stopping, you know, and not taking things so personally when we have someone come at us in a very dysregulated way. So through practice, we learn to sort of, I talk about bringing a wedge of awareness into a situation when a trigger is felt, you know, a stimulant is felt in the body. And our immediate response is to react, right? Naturally, like, you know, this is habitual, I'm used to this. But if you were to bring awareness in, so what is awareness? Awareness is actually knowing what's going on here with clear seeing and with an ability to actually see the other person, see the perspective of what is going on here. And so it enables you to have a softer response, not a reactive response, but a softer response to what is called for in the situation, right? What does this person need that's dysregulated? What is the struggle here? So you remain calmer in the situation if one person remains calmer and is able to actually, one person is still able to think creatively, with possibilities. So yeah, it's just bringing in this awareness of like knowing what is here right now, to offer more creative ways of responding. That's learned over time though. You know, that's a practice too. That's a big practice, bringing in awareness. And, you know, and you might want to ask, when the mind is working too, like, you know, how much do I want to keep this relationship going? You know, and what might come out of my mouth next that might keep that relationship going, and what might not. You know, these are all, the calmer that we can keep our state in, the better we're able to respond in a more wise and skillful way. Practice. Money in the bank. Money in the bank.
And that word practice comes up so much. I really appreciated when you said at the beginning, it's like, well, you can't actually fail at mindfulness, right? It's all about just bringing that beginner's mind yet again and again and again.
Yeah.
I love that.
There's so much to know.
Great. I have another question here, which is, I've lost it now because everything keeps, why does mindfulness release stress? How does that work?
It does. I mean, thank you. That's a wonderful question. I get that a lot. It doesn't get rid of stress. It will not get rid of stress. That's the ironic thing about my class. My classroom is mindfulness-based stress reduction. Never gets rid of stress. Stress is around us all the time. But mindfulness offers, just like I was saying with the last question, it offers us a better way to be in relationship with any challenge or struggle that comes our way. That's the difference. And so you're less to be taken up by the energy of that stress coming into your life. And also mindfulness, you might get triggered. It's not going to take away all, your reactive, stances. But the lovely thing after, a lot of practice is that you come back to your baseline much quicker. So you're not holding, I often use this example of holding a glass of water. If you were to hold that glass of water and I asked you, out in front of you, how much does it weigh right now? I don't know, 500 grams, whatever, But if I got you to keep that glass of water stretched out like that, and the next hour I came back and said, how much does it weigh now? I think it's going to weigh a lot more, right? And maybe at the end of the day, if you're still holding it, you could be paralyzed. It'd be really, really painful. Stress is like that. So the invitation is always to put down the glass of water. Put down the glass of water as soon as you can, especially before you go to bed. So that's what mindfulness teaches us to do, is to release, to let go, to accept what's here, and work with whatever's here.
So that leads us quite nicely into the next question. I think probably one of the last ones here, which is dealing with using mindfulness when you have physical loss or an emotional pain. So mourning, or anything that you're trying to do that's so emotional, and when you try to bring your awareness to it, it's simply too painful to touch.
Mm-hmm. Well, these are times that you need to scream. These are times that you really need to let it go, acknowledge it, of course. What is grief? Grief is deep love, And then, there's this acknowledgement that it's here. Sadness is here. Grief is here. And then there's an idea of actually allowing it to be here as well. The awareness of knowing that it's being here. Is that actually in grief? No, it's just watching it, right? It's just watching it. So allowing it to happen. And eventually, like everything else, like this arising and passing, when we allow it to live its life out, and allow us to actually hold it with tenderness, it has its life. And the more that we fight it, the more that we say, I wish it was different right now. I wish it wasn't like this right now. See if that brings more pain to whatever's here. right? The more we give some sort of acceptance to what is here and be with it as it is, there's more freedom in that, and there's more peace in that. So I'm just going to say that for now. That's a big one, but yeah, it's difficult. There's no doubt that it's difficult, but bringing awareness and accepting what is here can bring more peace. Good luck with all that.
Thank you. I think that is a really lovely place to end it, knowing that mindfulness is the beginning of a journey, and it can be, you know, really helpful, and it helps with some of those really big things. And yeah, thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you again, Karen, and thank you for taking the time for answering the questions as well. And thank you to everyone who is still listening. We've got a lot of people, Karen, who are thanking you for having brought this to them tonight and started them to either start this journey or return to a mindfulness journey. So definitely it has been well received. So thank you very much. We will end it there and hope that we can see some of you next week then.
Yes. Well, thank you again for the invitation. It was a great honor to be here tonight.
Great. Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.